Cubs took the loss to the Phillies and have lost 4 out of their last 6 games, right? And when you look at it, starting pitching is definitely an area where you can say they need some help. And at the deadline, they're going to be active. I think that's been established already. Could Zac Gallen be the guy to come and help the Cubs solidify the starting rotation? We're going to get into that, why his name keeps popping up amongst baseball insiders, and what it would take to sign him. Also, Jed Hoyer admits that Pete Crow-Armstrong wasn't the team's first choice. How weird is that? We'll talk about that right here on the Cubs Baseball channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. Let's get the show started. Great to see you guys as always. Go Cubs. What do you say, everybody? Mick Gillespie, Cubs Baseball Channel. It is a pleasure to talk Cubs with you guys on a daily basis, and I appreciate you guys being here. Lifelong Cubs fan, and obviously been in the organization for a long time. These opinions belong to me. That's why I started this channel. So love the fact that you guys get in there and talk about all of this stuff with me in the comment section. Please continue to do that, and thank you for being here today. All right, let's talk about this. Cubs, Ben Brown with another, kind of Ben Brown type start. He's been pretty inconsistent. I think that his future is going to be in the bullpen. We'll find out. But when you look at the way that the rotation kind of breaks down right now, Shota Imanaga with a successful appearance, building right now to return to the Cubs. I think that's going to happen as soon as he's ready for it too. But all the signs point to him being back soon. Had a hamstring injury covering first base. So it's not an arm deal. It's just basically just getting back and healthy now. And I'm guessing in the next 2 weeks he'll be back on the mound with the Cubs, right? Ben Brown's been the guy in the rotation where sometimes he's really good, sometimes he's not so good. That's how his whole career's been. I mean, this is exactly what he looked like in the minor leagues. He's got a ton of talent. He's a hard thrower, but the consistency for him, start in and start out, has always been something that's nagged him. You got Cade Horton, who I feel like the Cubs have a potential ace. He's just kind of getting his feet under him. Matthew Boyd's been really good this year. How long's that going to last? Colin Ray. We could talk about Jameson Tyone, who was brilliant the last time out. But when you get into the postseason and you play those short series, some of the guys that are successful over the course of the marathon aren't always successful when it comes to the sprint, right? So why not go after a pitcher who has World Series experience, who has experience being an ace of the staff, and someone that is going to be available? And that Zac Gallen is one of those guys. And his name keeps popping up, right? So you're talking about Gallen, who is in the last year of his contract with the Diamondbacks. Corbin Burns, they went out all in on Burns in the offseason. Former Brewer, was with Baltimore. He's hurt, and things are kind of falling apart for them. They also play the Diamondbacks in a really difficult division with the Giants and the Padres, and then, of course, the Dodgers there. So Gallen, I mean, certainly someone to look at. He's got a ton of pitches that he throws: fastball, changeup, slider, 5 pitches, as a matter of fact. So he can really mix it up. We know him from the, over the years, he's been so good against the Cubs. I mean, he's been good against everybody. That's why he's, someone that's been in the Cy Young mix so many times, right? For a young pitcher, right? He's finished in the top 5 of the Cy Young twice. But the reason why his name keeps popping up is because the Diamondbacks are going to try to move him because that they're not going to be able to sign him. I mean, you wouldn't think so anyway. Or even if they did sign him, they could still trade him and bring him back, right, and get something for him. Now he's 4-8, and he's got a 5.15 ERA. So he hasn't been great this year, but Jim Bowden brought him up, Jim Bowden brought him up on his show on the Athletic, and basically said that the Cubs could target Gallen, and I think he's right. You know, the Cubs are going to need to make a splash. You can feel the sense of urgency with this front office. And they're not signed yet. Maybe they do get signed by the All-Star break, and some people have speculated that they'll get an extension. I hope that doesn't change the sense of urgency, but at the same time, you just don't want them to make mistakes because it is a, do or die situation for this front office right now. The other thing for this team to win the World Series, Cubs are going to have somebody that you throw out there game one and game two that you feel like you're going to win with. And there's been years where the Cubs had a great regular season. I can think of 2007 and 2008 in particular, and then they get into the postseason, and they just, you start to match up, and it's like, for whatever reason, you just don't feel comfortable with the matchup. When they won the World Series, they had, a lot of great pitching at the top of the rotation, and that's what they're going to need to win this year. You want to go up against the Dodgers, you want to go up against the Giants, you go in these series, you can't give up runs. You got to have pitchers that can go out there and do it. Gallen would certainly be that type, but what would the price tag be? See, when you do deals like this, if the Diamondbacks are going to trade Gallen, they're going to expect to get pitching back in return. And it's not like this organization is fraught with pitching prospects. Jackson Wiggins is a guy, I'm telling you, keep him on your radar. I don't know if he's going to be a starter. I kind of think he's going to be a high leverage bullpen guy, but we'll see. He can throw at 100 miles an hour easy. And in his starts, he's throwing, in the upper 90s through 5 or 6 innings. I mean, he's a legitimate fireballer. So he's someone that we expect to maybe see in the big leagues with the Cubs. But a team like the Diamondbacks are going to want him in a deal like that. We talked about Will Sanders being a guy who's in AAA. He's really good in AA. And then there's some other guys like Grant Kipp. I talked about him on a show earlier this week. Be easier to trade him. He doesn't come in with like a prospect, tag on him, but he can pitch. And then I don't know what they have down the system if there's, somebody that, could kind of be that pitcher. But they're going to have to put pitching in a deal to get pitching. That's normally how it works. Even if you send James Triantos or Moises Ballesteros could be someone that they trade. Like they're going to have to put pitching in there when you get pitching. So, we'll see what happens. The other thing, too, is maybe you do a starter and maybe one of their better bullpen pieces, and you give up some good prospects. I did the show yesterday and stand by that. If you trade Owen Casey and you don't sign Tucker, then I'd fire the whole front office. So I would, because part of what you do in developing players, you trade to get this guy, you give up you Darvish to get him, you spend all that money to develop, and you got somebody that's a difference maker, like Pete Crow-Armstrong, I'm going to talk about here in a second. It takes time to go from AAA to the big leagues, and the way that they do it now is that they just push the guys up to AAA, and then they just sit there until there's a spot, right? And that's kind of where Casey is. But he's about ready. And if they sign Tucker, hey, trade and get as much for him as you can. But if you get rid of Tucker because you didn't pay for him, and then you get rid of Casey, and now you don't have a right fielder, and you're back to having Suzuki in right field with that bad defense, it's on you. So we'll see what happens there. You just have to have like a long-term plan when it comes to these guys. Like, it's not just craps here, like you should have this stuff has to be regimented. Here's the game plan. Our plan is this. We got this guy for this position. We got this guy for this position. And then we're going to do this with this. The other thing is, some of the no trade clauses irritate me because sometimes you look at positions and look, Ian Happ's had some really big home runs lately. And I love Happ, but I'm just saying, like, when you have a system full of prospect outfielders that you could punch into that spot for less money, and then maybe you put those resources towards pitching and you don't lose a whole lot, but you can't do it because of trade clauses. No trade clauses doesn't always make sense to me. So anyway, so we'll see what happens. Now, could Gallen be the guy? Yes, he could be. He's someone that you better keep an eye on, because if I'm the Cubs, he might come at a high price tag, but it might not be as high as it would be had Gallen been having an amazing season, which he hasn't. But you know that it's in there, and sometimes guys come over and a change of scenery, we'll do the guy, that player, a big service. And I think that it's with Gallen. I mean, somebody's going to end up with him, and it could potentially be the Cubs. They have the pieces to do it. But you know that the Yankees need pitching, the Giants need pitching. There's a lot of teams that are going to go after pitching and starting pitching at the top of that rotation. So he's someone to keep an eye on. And I'll tell you what, he'd look good in the Cubs uniform. But it would change the rotation, because then you got him 1, you got Shota 2, probably Tyone 3, Boyd 4, and then I would do Horton 5, and then I'd move Brown into the bullpen and help with the back end of the bullpen. That's me. And who knows? They may do a 6-man rotation until Shota's back 100%. So we'll see. But Gallen, and as you guys know, or any like ace starting pitcher that you put at the top of the rotation makes the whole rotation better. And I think the Cubs are going to need that to win the World Series. I thought this was interesting. And I don't know why, if I'm Jed Hoyer, I'm going on MLB Network and telling them that we had a bunch of prospects we were looking at, Francisco Alvarez, Brett Beatty, and that the Mets wouldn't give up. And we ended up with, we ultimately settled on Pete Crow-Armstrong. And the reason why is it's like, look, just be glad they don't just, I know the story here. The Mets had the front office that came over from Boston. They thought that Pete wasn't going to be able to hit. So ultimately they were willing to give him up. Hey, he can run the bases, he can play defense, but he's not going to be able to hit, which I don't understand, because the guy's wrists are amazing. I was talking to a Yankee scout about this the other day, and I said I was bullish on him because of the way that he hits. And he's laughing. He goes, "That's exactly what I'm talking about. His wrists are so fast and strong." And that's, to me, the key to hitting. But I was surprised that Hoyer would go out there and start talking about other guys that they wanted in the deal. Hey, just act like that's what you were doing the whole time. Hey, we wanted this guy. We wanted this guy. We ended up with this guy. Like, what are you doing? I don't know. Sometimes being candid works, and then other times it just makes you look like you kind of stumbled upon something. Because the reason why I say that is the rest of those trades are terrible. They didn't get anything, and at least not anything so far. So it's like you made all these trades, and you got one good player, and then the guy you got, you're going, well, they wasn't even the guy we wanted, but we got him, so we're happy. Pete Crow-Armstrong's been, to me, the most exciting player to watch in baseball. And I loved Javi Baez, still do. But I've always appreciated the guys that play the game and play the game really hard, that care, that go out there. And I know, like, some of Pete's stuff, I knew it was going to take a while for big leaguers to handle him throwing his helmet and being pissed off every time he gets out, because he is. But at the same time, I think we've all fallen in love with it, because he's been such a difference maker on the field. So anyway, Cubs are getting back at it. I don't feel like the losses that they've had lately have been the kind of losses that I worry about, like last year before that. They're just playing good teams, and they've kind of been unlucky because they have matched up with some of the best pitching on really good teams. And so it's not easy in the big leagues, but they got a chance to get back on track against the Pirates, and that'll be fun, being back at Wrigley. Milwaukee coming to town after that. I don't think there's anything to worry about other than this is the way baseball goes. And I just remember being at spring training and Joe Madden taking these baseballs and lining up baseballs and then he'd like have a bat in the thing, it'd be like baseball, 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 then like a long bat, and then it'd be like baseball, baseball, baseball. And I think some of the baseballs were different colors, but he put 162 baseballs on the ground. And I saw this, and basically what he was saying is just when you look at the season as a whole, you realize it's a lot bigger than just a good or a bad stretch. It's the whole thing, and I feel like that with this team. I'm not concerned at all. I think they do need to get Shota back in the rotation, and if they can make a deal to get an ace, they need to do it. They said they're going to be aggressive. I believe them on that, and we'll see what happens. But anyway, thank you guys for being here. Sorry the show was a little late today, but we'll be back at it again tomorrow. Like, subscribe, thumbs up. I ask you guys to do that every day, and I appreciate it. And I know that for Cardinals fans, that's a lot to ask, but for you guys, you know what to do. I'm going to give you the Cardinals hell every chance I get. I can't wait for us to play them. It feels like we haven't seen them in forever, but we're not going to see them this series or next series. So anyway, like, subscribe, thumbs up. Seriously, thank all you guys for being here. We'll do it again tomorrow. Go Cubs.